water makes its mark. A glass of tea sweats a circle of droplets on an old table. Drying, they pull dirt and stain from the wood, leaving a ring. Water makes its mark. Deep in the earth, in a cave, a drop falls each minute. Where it lands, a great pillar of white rock has grown up. Water makes its mark. On the surface above, a stream burbles and flows, carving out potholes in the granite of its bed. Water makes its mark. Along a highway cut, a geologist points out the layers of tan slate, each penny-thin sheet, the memory of a torrential rainstorm eons ago. Water makes its mark. In its network of veins, the blood, salty like the seawater from which we sprang, flows on in cycles giving life. Water makes its mark. The dark clouds pass on, yielding no rain. Crops wither, and drought comes. Famine, migration, violence, and death soon follow. Water makes its mark. A space probe turns its camera toward whence it came, imagining one solitary pixel of light. Its color, the pale blue of oceans. Water makes its mark. A solitary tear slides down the cheek, a tear of abiding joy, a tear of unending grief. We see and share the depth of feeling at its true core. Water makes its mark. Let's all remain seated as we recite together our covenant. I'm sure enough of us know it that we can do this without having printed in the order of service. Love is the spirit of this congregation, and service is its prayer. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Please rise now as you are willing and able, and open this time your teal hymnal to number 1008, When Our Heart is in a Holy Place. That's one for Labor Day, as we always do to celebrate our water communion, a homecoming after a casual summer in which many of us have had the chance to travel, great distances and short distances. And we bring water from different sources. Some of them are really exotic, and some of them are more ordinary. I have water from my usual source, my dehumidifier in my basement, which runs 24/7 for 6 months out of the year. And it turns moist air into water, which I think is kind of magic, ordinary and magical, like so much of life. So the idea of water as being like really powerful and magical makes me think of the Wonder Twins. Do you remember the Wonder Twins lately?
I've never heard of the Wonder Twins.
Oh, come on. It was a Saturday morning cartoon when we were kids.
Maybe when you heard. I mean, I really have never heard of them.
Okay. Well, it was pretty bad. You're 15 years younger than I am. I can understand that it was gone by then. So the premise of this thing was that there were two twins, and they were named Zan and Jaina. And Zan was a boy and Jane was a girl, and they were teenagers, and they were extraterrestrials. And they were purple, and they wore purple, and they had a pet monkey named Gleek. And they had superpowers. And what they would do is they would bump fists, and they would say, Wonder Twin powers, activate. And then she would always take the form of some kind of animal, and he would always take the shape of water in some way, right?
Like what kind of water? Like anything?
Well, it could be anything, right? Like he could be a hurricane, or he could make himself ice in the shape of like a chair or like a missile,
Oh my
or
gosh.
yeah, it could be anything. Right? And But most often what they would do is she would turn herself into an eagle and he would turn himself into a bucket of water. And then Gleek would hold the bucket of water and she'd grab Gleek by his little harness and take off. And that was how they transported. So the thing that I loved about the Wonder Twins though was that like in my 8-year-old brain, it seemed like he should be the animal and she should be the water. And they flipped that script, which I thought was kind of awesome.
Yeah, so he was really fluid and could become lots of different shape-shifting things. And she was more solid, like a physical animal.
Yeah. And if she needed great talons,
Yeah,
she could have them. If she needed to be a big bear, she could do that, right? And that's the thing, like it seemed like the water wasn't very strong, but my God, it was adaptable. Like that's a superpower, being adaptable, right? So I want to talk about superpowers this morning. I think we should talk about superpowers.
I do.
Okay. So earlier this week, I asked you what your superpower was.
Right, and I said, my superpower, one of my superpowers, there are many, but the one that I answer right away is, that I can look at an amount of things and I can choose a container that perfectly fits that amount of things. So I can choose the exact right container. And people are raising their hand, yes, superpower is nice. And then, when I told Rev that, it turned out.
That's my superpower.
The first thing out of my mouth was like, me too, that's what I always say.
But see, the thing is, for me, it's not just containers, it's space.
Right.
Like I can look at any room and tell you how big it is because, I'm an architect. That's an architect superpower.
I can't quite do that yet, but I just have practice. So, oh my gosh, guess what I brought with me today? Speaking of superpowers.
What?
I brought capes.
Oh, that's cool. Where?
They're right here.
Capes.
Yeah. Okay, we have some options. We have long and purple that is a complementary color to the shirt you're wearing, I have to say.
It's true. Yellow and purple is great together.
Okay.
Oh, cool.
Okay, but then there's also two more. One made by me for my son Sylvan, but the S could stand for super if you wanted. And then one made by our dear Miss Anne Monahan, who many of us have loved for so long. She made this for Sylvan when he was in preschool. Oh, you're going with purple.
I'm going with
All
purple.
right, I'm going with tiny preschool.
Well, given everything, I should probably go with the small.
Really? Purple. You want to be purple? All right, we'll wear these downstairs.
Woohoo! Don't worry, I won't let this go to my head. Okay. Cool. So we asked everybody to bring water. And I'm sure a lot of people forgot because, hey, if I didn't put this in my car on Friday, I would have forgotten. So I'd like to invite everybody to come up now as you are moved and pour water into this big bowl here. And if you didn't bring water, that's okay, because we have a pitcher of water. And, it doesn't really matter that it came from the faucet or it came from, I don't know, a trip to Egypt or something. It's all holy. It's all life-giving. It's all sacred.
It's all powerful.
Yeah.
And before we come up, we wanted to invite you to take a moment to think about what your superpowers are. So if everyone could just join me, if you want to close your eyes, or if you want to keep them open, and just think about, what do you do super well? Like maybe you work with animals, maybe you can make any plant grow, maybe you can make anyone laugh. Because there's the tangible superpower, like we can fit things into the right container, and then there's the intangible, like we can light up a room, or we can make a garden grow, or we have the power of, I don't know, you fill in the blank. So let's sit for a moment and think about our superpowers.
And folks at home, I'd like you to join us. So if you want to share your superpower, just enter it into the chat function, and we will read it out loud.
Want me to do it? So this is water that we saved from last year's water pumping in, and it has a little bit of water that I found in a mason jar in that closet that was totally rusted. The lid was totally rusted shut.
Well, clearly it's still
And
rusted
it's
shut.
not in the new lid from last year, but I think it just sealed. I did boil the water first. Carrie's coming up to open it. I'll take the lid. We're gonna seal. Not twist, it's just pop.
It's just pop?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just pop off the top?
Yeah.
Or you need a like.
yeah, I'm gonna use an implement, so.
Oh.
Okay, okay, so clearly opening jars carries superpower.
So this water is representing our lineage of coming together every year, every Sunday, coming back, traveling and then coming back together. So this is our history right here.
So please, come up as you moved, pour your water into the bowl, and just say a word or two about your superpower. And if you'd like me to bring the microphone to you and carry your water to the bowl, just raise your hand.
It's so great to see everyone. I have two superpowers. One is I jump up first often. I credit that to Aries energy. And my other superpower is that when I'm in a class, often as a student, I have an ability to turn questions into words rapidly. Like other people have deep and wonderful questions, but the way my mind works, that's a superpower.
That's chunky water.
Okay.
Cool.
Chunky water from Narragansett Beach. Spent a lot of time.
So what's your superpower?
My superpower, according to my daughter, is that I'm comfortable.
Helpful. That's great. How about you, Max? What's your superpower? You're super cute. That's your power. Anything else?
We're gonna keep talking about it.
How would you do this?
Shape-shifting.
Shape-shifting. That's impressive.
I'd say the superpower is joy.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
my superpower is being open to wonder. Okay, so one of my superpowers is noticing things visually. And last night I noticed a little green chrysalis from a monarch butterfly with a little gold spot. Went out to the compost. And my water is from the sacred water of this area in the Tunic Hills. That I swam in partly to raise money for the Cancer Society this summer. So White Pond, Long Pond, Round Pond, and the ocean. All which are set up by the Charlestown Glacier.
Good morning. I am told my superpower is that I'm empathetic and that I've got a pretty good laugh. So I'm bringing water today from a brook at Crawley Reserve in Escapade. Sue Straight Band just down the street from one another, so this is from us.
Oh, thank you.
This water, well, my superpowers are, my superpowers are basically, I love reading and learning all the time, and, but I also want to say that the water I'm putting in here is all of the solar system.
Mm.
Good morning, I forgot my water, so we can use, is this tap water?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's good, because we all need that. My superpower, it's practical, I like logistics, you know, dating back from when I used to work at home planning, projects I work on, so yeah, I like logistics. I'm pretty good at it.
Bring in water, that's okay. Well, stuff. All right, my superpower, according to a friend of mine, is that, yes, I can make you smile, do any kinds of things. Very happy to see you always.
Cool. Thank you.
My superpower is following directions. And finding you all.
Oh.
You have been such a gift to me. I came through some pretty bumpy times in my life, and I was desperately in search for you, all of you. Thank you for being here.
Sure. Yes. Either one. I know.
Also thinking of the Wisconsin River.
Wisconsin River.
The Wisconsin River that flows into the Mississippi, that flows into here eventually.
It all flows together.
It does.
Yeah.
So we are the Sorrentinos, and we had initially planned to bring water from Lincoln's Pond. We forgot to get that. We collected rainwater, forgot that. My superpower is remembering very specific pieces of philosophy and arguments and things like that, and forgetting the everyday details. Other superpowers?
My superpower is super strength.
Yeah. AndEstella's is making people laugh. Rosie's is persistence, and Jenna's is joy. And one of you can do water. Yeah, what's yours?
Do it.
Oh.
There
Do you
we
want to
go. For some water movement.
Beautiful.
Thank you, Sorrentinos.
Okay, my name is Carrie, and my superpower is taking care of other people. And I'm so good at it that I've been putting myself under the rug for a long, long, long time. And I need to stop doing that and put that cape down and pick up a different cape, which is about self-care. And I forgot the water because I'm 54 now and I forget things. So I don't have any water to add to the bowl, but I would like to pour water. And when I was asking the Rev Denise if we were doing joys and concerns today, because I would like to share a joy and concern with you. I have not been in the congregation for the last 6 weeks because I've been in Cincinnati. My son has been in intensive care, and I was sleeping in the hospital every night. And it's been 25 years of this. He was born with 8 birth defects, and he went through bone marrow transplant and chemotherapy and radiation and 64 surgical procedures. So this last time was really intense. And at the end of it, 2 weeks ago, he died. And I just really need God. I don't know. And I need people who can be a conduit or a channel for God to me. And I'm pouring in the water as joy, because it was a joy to have him in my life. But I'm also pouring in the water and I'm just asking for your prayers for myself, because his memorial service is in 2 weeks. And I'm doing the eulogy because I'm a minister and I take care of other people. So I could just use your prayers. Again, my name is Terry. I could use your prayers for strength just to get through this. And I'm just very, very grateful and thankful for this congregation and to have a place to go where I feel like people believe the same things that I believe. And I'm sorry to derail the whole water ceremony, but it's been really on my heart. And God told me I need to speak today, whether I want to or not. And when he tells or she or it tells me to do something, I have to do it, because otherwise it just gets louder and louder. So I'm just going to pour water in now. Thank you.
Love those two. Yeah, let's see. Oh, superpower. It used to be that people said I was a good listener, but as I get older, I get hard of hearing and it's harder to hear. Right now, my superpower seems to be growing beautifully colored flowers, so I'm very happy with that. And I have some water that represents water from Connecticut, where I went to my family's annual lobster fest, and in Connecticut, and then the rest of it is here from Jerusalem. Jerusalem across the bay from Galilee. Every year, my niece and her family rent a house there, and we spend time on the beach, and I love going. My grandnephews are 5 and 3.5, and that's always a joy.
My superpower is finding things, so things that people can't find in the house, I usually my name's on that. And I find things in the woods that I use in my garden. This water, it represents water from Tucker Pond, which I think I was there almost every day all summer.
I have 2 superpowers. One is not so appreciated and one is appreciated. I can organize anybody or anything. That's not so always appreciated. But my other superpower, which I think is appreciated, is that I can grow things. And this is water from my rain barrel in my flower garden at home.
Water from our frog pond at our house where my children play and observe nature, and it's connected down to the Saugatuck and out to the ocean where we spend so much time this summer, and reminds us that we're connected.
Superpower.
That was my daughter, and she has many superpowers. This is water representing Nantucket Island, where my husband's family has had a beach cottage for many years, and this summer we had for the first time in almost 10 years all my children and grandchildren there. So my superpower was fitting 15 people
from ages 3 to 72 into a 4-bedroom house and having a great time.
Hi, Nerdy.
Mine is like, people literally say I'm a ghost because I'm so fast.
So your superpower is being a fast ghost.
Yeah, like, they're like, you're a ghost.
You want to pour some water into the bowl? Cool. Thank you. Great. You have more water back. Do you have a superpower this time? Okay, do you want to pour that in? Well, your water just gets chunkier and chunkier.
My superpower is throwing oranges.
Wow.
That's a new superpower.
This water is from our beautiful, beautiful Saugatuck River, which is especially meaningful for me because it literally connects my home, my first home, with this, my second home. And my superpower is the ability at the end of every day to write a gratitude list of 10 things, no matter what. Now, granted, sometimes 3 of them are coffee.
Nancy, my superpower. My superpower is I'm a problem solver. I like to. Sometimes other people don't always appreciate the problems I solve. And this water represents Narragansett Beach and Saugatuck Pond and Winchett Pond and all the places we spent near water this summer.
Morning, isn't it? Like Susan is sitting there, but she won't come out. This water, actually, the superpower, yes, the superpower, I don't really think of myself as having superpowers, but if there is one for me, it's surviving. Well, it's not as bad. I've survived a number of things that I couldn't go on way. I won't go into details, but I was thinking about that the other day, all the things that actually, you know. This water is from when after I go surfing in the water, I wash out my wetsuit in the bucket. And so this is half South Kingstown tap water and half Green Hill Beach water.
Eugene, and this is water from Silver Lake, the very end of a massive watershed where we have the privilege to live near. And my superpower is that I love water. I love being in water, I love being on water, and having people join us in water and around water.
And my water is the same. And people have told me that it's peace and calm. As all of you, we all have many superpowers, but 2 that bring me up here is the first one is time management. I'm just really this time person all the time, which could be good or sometimes could be bad. It depends who you talk to at the time. And the other one, as you are caring for other people and putting myself last and putting them first. So it's a good trait.
Good morning. I had the good fortune to work in a new project in Doha this week.
And when I was looking at the group that I was working with, I saw people dressed in clothing all around the world. It's a very international community. And I would call it a threat, because if it was a superpower, I would solve all the problems. But I think it's helping people from different views and perspectives work in common to solve problems. And I certainly emerged with the view that working, that there's more that connects us than separates us.
Hi, we're new. My daughter really wanted to say something. So
Okay.
with her.
What do you have to say, Rosalind?
What's your
Oh,
superpower?
I forget.
Did you have something? What's your superpower?
No.
No. She's 3. I would say, my superpower is a love of adventure and storytelling, which kind of goes well as a mom and a teacher. So that's what we do.
Great, thank you. Thank you for joining us today. You want to pour some water into the bowl?
Just a tiny bit.
Go. And would anybody like me to bring the microphone to you? Okay.
You can do it too.
Great, thank you. Now. Okay, this is always the fun part. So Mary Fulton says that her superpower is that she can talk with her horse. Kat says, my superpower is I can maintain a positive attitude no matter what kind of adversity I'm experiencing. Carol says, my superpower is I still love spending time with adolescents after a quarter century of teaching them about the miracles of life in science class. My water offering is symbolically from my home in Trinidad. Great. Well, thank you all for sharing.
Water that came from different places, both metaphorically and physically, in containers of different shapes and sizes from people of different backgrounds and beliefs. And it's all together here, creating something magical, just like we do every Sunday together. And we say, this water has its own power. And so we will be putting some of it back into the earth to feed that power of the earth and of our gardens. And I also wanted to invite any of you that want to bring a little bit home with you. It's a tradition that friends of mine have all around the world of gathering together, sharing water, and then taking a little bottle of it with them. They call it Waters of the World. And every time they do another ritual like this, they add a little bit and then they take a little bit. And so it's constantly mixing, and they carry that with them as a symbol of that power and that community that we're creating every day. So if you would like to bring some home, you're welcome to at the end of the service.
So bless this water, giver and sustainer of life. This water, with its power to create and to destroy, supporting vessels of movement and hope. Bless that part of it that will be brought to other places. Bless that part of it that will be saved for next year. Bless that part of it that will be returned to the earth. Once again, transformed, always nurturing life.
So now the time has come to sing to the youngest among us. We're ready to go out.
Put up billboards and projected images onto the State House and historical landmarks. They distributed lawns. Thanks, Mike. They distributed lawn signs reading "Hate has no place here" to act as beacons of safety and acceptance throughout our communities for those who need protection. This past spring, they created the Empowered to Advocate series, teaching participants to promote public policy supporting trans, non-binary, and gender diverse people in their local communities and at the state level. On June 1st, they launched a new campaign called Bodily Freedom Forever, running through the November election. The campaign has two goals: to empower people to make their own choices free of judgment and harassment, and to report on the voting records of candidates regarding reproductive freedom. The Women Project, in short, is nothing less than a band of superheroes. Today's offering will be split with the Women's Project Education Fund. All plate cash will go toward the total to be shared. And if you're paying by check and wish to contribute, please make sure that you make your check payable to UUCSC and put shared collection in the memo line. This morning's offering will now be accepted. Thank you, V, and thank you all for your generosity of spirit, your generosity in sharing the benefits of your superpowers, and thank you for your financial generosity. This congregation and the Women Project will use these funds with care to further the work that expresses the values that you hold dear. So I learned something this week. I learned that the S on Superman's chest doesn't stand for Superman. It made no sense to me. It turns out that it's a symbol from his home planet of Krypton, and it's a symbol for hope. A symbol for hope that the world will be more democratic and that the well-being of the powerless would be defended. But still, Superman is such a great name. And, you know, even though I know what my superpowers are, I wasn't quite sure what I would call myself if I were a superhero, but then I had an idea. I would be Captain Obvious. You know, and the O could mean different things, right? It could be a big zero, meaning that I know nothing, that I have ideas and opinions and a lot of knowledge, but ultimately it's nothing in comparison to all there is to know in this constantly changing world. And the O could be an indicator of what my main job is as your minister, to make observations about about who we are and how we want to be together, and just observations about what is, right? Living out our mission of welcoming, loving, growing spiritually, and seeking justice, doing this work together and just noticing what's there as we do that. But really, the O on most Sundays, especially this Sunday, would be obvious, obviously, because most of what I have to say is obvious. And you don't need me to tell you that we have, in the coming year, a lot of challenges ahead of us. In light of this week's latest mass shooting at Appalachia High School in Georgia, we have to have common sense gun laws. I mean, it gets more and more ridiculous every week that goes by. And it's incredible that the father of the shooter, 54-year-old Colin Gray, is being held accountable for giving an assault rifle as a Christmas gift to a troubled 14-year-old. But the truth is that millions of children are being raised in troubled families in communities where violence and hatred are not only tolerated, but tacitly encouraged. And it's got to change. We have to stop access to high-powered rifles and make so many change this culture of glorifying violence. In the elections coming up in September, we all have to be like November. We all have to be like Superman. We have to not only be hopeful that there is a better way, we have to be defenders of democracy and the well-being of the powerless. This election will demand nothing less from each and every one of us. And while I might not know everything, I know what we all know. There are too many angry, disenfranchised men and boys all across the country who don't know any other way to be other than angry. I know there are a lot of people running around out there draped in flags, the flag of the Confederacy, the Don't Tread on Me flag, even the Stars and Stripes, who will come out of the woodwork after the election, toting guns. Either they will be emboldened by the election of the man who loves them and encourages them to act violently on their behalf, or they will be angry, believing that yet another election was stolen for their martyrdom. Either way, I'm afraid we're going to be seeing more guns out in the open, even here in New England, but especially in deep red states. And that will affect every single one of us, largely because of a Supreme Court that has decided that the president is above the law, with the power to pardon every one of them. Here in our own communities, we're facing book bans, the takeover of school systems by radical libertarians who want to actually dismantle the system they're supposed to be serving, and the fragility of women's autonomy over their own bodies. In our beloved congregation, we're facing different kinds of challenges. The most obvious challenge is going to be filling the very large shoes vacated by Mike Gallup as we search for a new music director. And while there's a lot of charm to this quirky old building, it's old. The HVAC system has been giving us problems. A lot of the windows are shot, and a big chunk of the roof has to be replaced before winter, urgently. Something that has recently come to a big shock to all of us in lay and professional leadership. But then again, flat roofs are notorious for suddenly becoming leaky. Keeping the building in a good state of repair is mandatory if we're going to live into our vision of having the building serve as a kind of community center for like-minded organizations. We're in the process of signing a lease for a homeschooling support program to use the downstairs space 2 days a week. But in making that happen, which is a great thing, a profound weakness in our system became painfully clear. We have a whole bunch of committees here doing good, important work, but not one of those committees really owns the responsibility of property and lease management. So way too much fell into the hands of way too few people to make this lease happen quickly. So board chair Nancy Richmond picked up most of the slack on top of her countless regular duties. And while everyone appreciates her efforts, I know I do, and the support that she got from a few others, we know that we need to address our committee structures as there are fewer people with the time and energy to devote to this kind of work. Meanwhile, like everyone, we're dealing with the realities of inflation, even if it is getting a little under control lately. Our pledges haven't increased to match it in the last couple of years. Staff raises aren't in line with inflation and haven't even come close to matching cost of living increases. And that adds up significantly after a while. And these are all huge challenges that Captain Obvious knows that we can lean into well if we all use our superpowers. The obvious powers will need to take the shapes of philanthropists, financial gurus, financial managers, facility managers, and also the powers of artists, childcare providers, caregivers, cooks, speakers, all of the superpowers that we've shared this morning. And we all have to consider giving new form to our money so that it flows like a river, flows through this place and into this place, and damming up to stop the flow of destruction. Captain Obvious knows that these are huge challenges and that we can do it because we value justice, equity, transformation, pluralism, interdependency, and generosity with love at the center. That's our covenant as Unitarian Universalists. Who we are and our powers to live into that covenant will get us through the coming months. That I do know because it's obvious. Because the connections we have here, made slowly over decades, are real, and they all reinforce each other. So let's rise now as we are able, like birds out of their nests or waves in the ocean, as we sing together an obvious but beloved hymn.